airlines taking advantage of the fact that there are a pool of people right now who feel as though they have no choice but to pay whatever it costs to get on board?
You could argue that, but in the end, the demand is greater than the supply.
Welcome. We have seen Australians fly out of Dubai today. What is the status of airports in the Gulf?
Well, it varies a little bit. The three main airports, of course, are Doha, Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And the planes that have initially left, I believe, are Dubai. And I know we have some of our people on that flight. And I believe Abu Dhabi Etihad is going to fly to Brisbane and to Sydney and Melbourne tomorrow. So Qatar's, the airspace is still shut as far as we know.
The situation remains precarious. Do you have insight into how the airlines are determining whether indeed they have a safe window to depart? What is a war zone?
Look, it's really up to the local governments, and the airlines don't make the decision on the airspace. They do make the decision on then when they fly, if the airspace is open. But bear in mind, these three airlines in particular are world-class airlines. They will not endanger their passengers. It's not in their interests in any way, shape or form. So I'd be very confident, if it was me, that assuming the airspace was open and the airline decided to fly, that it was safe.
The Gulf carriers have dozens of planes on Australian tarmacs. Is it a more difficult decision for the airlines to determine whether they can make the long journey back and indeed land safely?
Yeah, that's certainly one thing. And I think their priority at the moment, from what I believe, is to get people out of the UAE, particularly Dubai initially. And then the next step will be flying the other way, taking their planes back to the home base. But certainly, initially, for the next day or so, the emphasis will be getting people out of Dubai or Abu Dhabi in particular.
And so does that mean they'll be using the planes that are currently on the tarmac in Dubai only?
At the moment, that's what I believe, yes. So the planes leaving here, that will be will be the second phase of it, but probably in a day or two's time at least.
What do you know about whether the airlines are prioritising passengers, for instance, those with particular health needs?
Look, I don't know that, but I believe it's sort of a first in, first served. In other words, the people who have been there in the Middle East the longest will tend to be the people given priority initially. But that's all I know. And I presume people with health issues and that they will be given the right priorities as well. That, this won't be an easy thing, and I'm sure it won't satisfy every customer, but that's how I believe they're doing it at the moment.
Graham, has Flight Centre organised road exits to Oman for ongoing flights or even charters for those desperate to leave at any cost?
No, we haven't. I mean, the point is that until we know with airlines like Emirates, or Etihad or Qatar, that they'll only fly if it's safe. So having a charter, it doesn't achieve anything because they have the capacity. They've got a lot of planes in the area to utilise when it's safe, when the airspace is open and they deem it safe. So no, we're not looking at charters, and I don't think the government is. I know they've talked about it, but I'll be surprised if they take any charters into there. It just doesn't make sense. It makes sense to when the airspace is open, to let the commercial carriers bring people out. They've got the capacity, they've got the airlines, and it's in their interest to make sure it's safe. And the road trip to Oman, I know people are using it, but that's very much an individual. If an individual wants to do that is up to them.
Now, we've seen airfares on other international routes via Asia surge amid the limited availability. Are those price rises justified, or are airlines gouging consumers at this moment?
The point is it's a matter of supply and demand, and obviously there are very few seats left now on those Asian routes, particularly from Australia to Europe, and we believe that an economy return is, on some of the airlines, Singapore, Qantas, Cathay, is around that $5,000, whereas, a week or two ago, depending on the season, of course, it may have been somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000, and business class, which was possibly 10 to 15, is now more like 18,000 returns. So certainly the prices are higher, but it is a matter of supply and demand. And obviously the airlines, they have pretty much automatic systems that work out the fares, and they're obviously people who are prepared to pay for the ones that get the seats, and it's hard to. It's not great for people who have to fly. They'll be paying more for the next, at least the next few days, maybe a week.
I just want to drill into that a little bit further. So, are airlines taking advantage of the fact that there are a pool of people right now who feel as though they have no choice but to pay whatever it costs to get on board?
You could argue that, but in the end, the demand is greater than the supply. So, who do you choose gets the seat for paying less or paying an old price versus what the new price is? I think the airlines, in the end, it's first in, best dressed, and you just have to be prepared to pay for that. And I know it won't be great for some people who really have to get back to Europe or the UK and have to pay those prices. But that's the system, and although some people mightn't think it's fair, in the end it comes down to there is more demand than there's supply, and prices will inevitably go up on that.
The government estimates there may be as many as 115,000 Australians in the Gulf right now. How long do you think it's going to take to get those stranded out?
Look, as far as we know, there's probably somewhere between, say, 10 and 20,000 Australians that have been caught up in there. So it'll be a few days for sure. I mean, for example, Flight Centres, we have permanent employees in Dubai of about 250 people. Most of them are expats, not necessarily all from Australia, but they'll be staying there. So that 100,000 plus number, a lot of them will be expats living and working in Dubai, and very few of them, as far as I know, and certainly our people, are not looking at coming home or going back to their home country. That's where their place of work is, that's where they live. So most of those people will be won't be looking at getting out of Dubai or the UAE in general.
Just one final question. What do you know of any knock-on to this weekend's Formula One in Melbourne? We understand that there are teams and fans who are still holed up in Bahrain.
Look, I'm not really up to date with the F1. I know there are a lot of hotels in Melbourne who people haven't turned up for. I believe there's some drivers who are really struggling to get to Melbourne at the moment, but I don't know the details of the people caught in Bahrain. I think they'll have the same issue, and perhaps there will be some solutions for them to get out of places like Oman.
Okay, Graham Turner, thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. It's a pleasure.